welcome to the workshop Men's Mental Health, Supporting and Understanding Men's Mental Health, as part of the Training and Wellbeing Centre hosted by Learning Well. So, hello, thank you for watching this short workshop. I'm Kate Blakemore. I'm one of the directors of the Learning Well Centre. I'm also a person-centred counsellor. I've been a counsellor for many years, working with both male and female. You may or may not know, but the Learning Well is a training centre for workplace wellbeing, offering workshops, awareness sessions and consultancy to support your wellbeing in the workplace. As I've said, I am today's trainer. I've done many training sessions, and I'm qualified to be a trainer as well as a counsellor. Today's workshop is for you to watch at your leisure, and it is important that if you need to take a break and care for yourself during this workshop, then please do just pause and watch it when you feel that you want to. Should there be anything that you don't understand as you're watching this yourself, please pause it, write down any notes, and you are more than welcome to contact me if there's any questions at all at the end of today's workshop. So today's workshop is aimed at giving you developing an understanding of men's mental health, to develop an understanding of how stigma and stereotypes can hinder men's help when stereotypes can hinder men's help seeking behaviour, and to identify how workplaces and colleagues can be supportive of men's mental health, because it can be quite different to women. So just some key stats to recognise. 45% of men report regularly feeling worried or low. And that stats taken from Mind UK. Men are more likely than women to drink alone or take recreational drugs when feeling worried or low. And 10% of men report having suicidal thoughts when they feel worried or low. And suicide, this is an alarming statistic, is the leading cause of death for men under 50. And 75% of deaths by suicide are males. So that's a big difference between male and females. So what do men say are some of the key factors impacting their mental health? Financial worries, and this has been my own personal experience of when I've been working with men in the counselling room. Financial worries is been one of the most presenting issues. And perhaps linked to that is unemployment and job security or insecurity, depending on what's going on for them. Poor work conditions, physical appearance can concern them, and linked to that maybe self-image, social media, loneliness, separation, divorce and relationships, parenting worries, and as mentioned on the previous slide, maybe drug and alcohol issues as well. So risk factors for mental health issues in men. Men in midlife, or at least likely age group to seek support. So are the least likely age group to seek support. And you can see how this can link in with suicide as well, because it tends to be men in the midlife ages as well. And men who are divorced or separated have a higher suicide rate than their married peers, linked to loss of predominant support persons such as their spouse, and loss of custody of children, and that's come from Samaritans. Men are more frequently ejected from the family home than women in a family breakdown. They may find themselves totally alone. And that's what somebody has said from a Mind focus group. Risk factors for mental health issues in men. One of the reasons, or high risk, is gay and bisexual men. They demonstrate significantly higher rates of depression. They can have suicidal thoughts and self-harm when compared to their heterosexual counterparts. The reasons for this can be very complex and may include the impact of minority stress, stigma and prejudice, and feeling quite alone. Other risk factors may be boys from Black, African and Caribbean backgrounds, because they have lower levels of mental health problems than white or mixed heritage boys. However, by adulthood, young Black men are 3 times more likely to present with suicidal risk and 11 times more likely to present with major psychiatric conditions. So they are some statistics to really bear in mind. This does not occur in countries with majority of Black populations, and therefore the increase in mental health conditions seem to be associated with the environment, risk and minority stress. So feeling quite alone, perhaps being discriminated against as well and not having anybody to talk to. The silent crisis. 40% of men have never spoken to anybody about their mental health, and only 36% of referrals from the NHS psychological therapists are for men. And 46% of men would feel embarrassed or ashamed to tell their employer they are struggling with the mental health. And that's something really to bear in mind, that culture that you want to create for all your genders in the workplace as well, that there is no shame and there is no stigma attached to mental health. Men and help-seeking behaviours. Men are considerably less likely than women to seek formal or informal support when feeling worried or low. Whilst the reasons for this are complex, research shows that this may be due to practical barriers, just including services being inaccessible because of the opening hours, having to ring up because they don't fit a criteria. Socialization and traditional masculine values of self-reliance, just that this isn't what men do, so they feel that they can't open up and tell people how they're feeling. Or talk about mental health being associated with weakness, so linking into that masculine values as well. And think about how you can break down some of them barriers as well in the workplace, or how when you're just talking to males that you're concerned about, how can you break down some of them barriers? So what prevents men from seeking help? Gender stereotypes, as we've just said, can play a role in why men feel unable to discuss it. Such comments like boys don't cry, man up, be tough and strong, be self-reliant, be independent. Men don't do emotions, the old perhaps generations, and that's been fed down from male to male. And perhaps them seeing themselves, that opening up is a weakness for them. They have to keep everything to themselves. There's another quote from somebody from a mind focus group. Pressure for me to be masculine started at a young age with my family and carried on when I went to school and then went to work. I was always told to man up, and we have to be extremely careful using that phrase now. Nobody, is not able to cry. Nobody is not able to have emotions. It's absolutely fine for everybody to open up. Another quote from childhood: boys are told to keep quiet about their emotions and that men don't talk to each other. It became tiring and I became very withdrawn. I felt forced to conform. And when we felt forced to do something, that can be exhausting and can really, really hinder people's mental health. So let's have a look. Generally, Obviously, this isn't every man, but this is generally speaking, and this is what research has shown. Men are statistically more likely than women to use unhealthy coping mechanisms. As we've mentioned, they might drink more alcohol. They may start smoking or smoke more, take recreational drugs, or they might become very angry. Men are twice as likely as women to drink hazardous or have drug dependency issues. That's a big statistic, twice as likely. So what would help men? And this is research that Mind has done. What would help men seek support? When asked about would make it easy to seek support feeling low, 22% of men said having support and information available online. So something about them being able to do it, behind closed doors in the first instance, maybe in privacy for them to just research. 15% said assurance of anonymity, again, perhaps linked to stigma. 12% said help available at more convenient times of the day. And 11% said availability of help at places other than their GP. And 6% said help available over the phone. So a lot of that is perhaps not around having face-to-face support in the first instance. How can the workplace support men's health? And this is absolutely crucial. Ask the question. Don't wait for men to come to you. Formally inquire about well-being in your one-to-ones. If we make them the norm, people will know they're being asked, and that's a great opportunity to open up. Consider where informal conversations can happen. At away days, at staff training. How are we creating that culture when we're checking in with each other no matter what? If you are concerned about someone's mental health or well-being, let men know that you are there to listen. Just offer that space. Do you fancy a brew? Do you fancy a walk at break? Perhaps doesn't have to be so intense, but just that light touch to see if they'll open up. Keep in touch with them. In the first instance, it might not be they open up, but if you just keep in touch, keep checking in, things might change. And signpost them to further support. If you are concerned and if they have opened up to you, have a look at who you can signpost. None of this is about you having all the answers. This is about you asking the questions and maybe working with somebody to support them. Other ways is to bust the stigma. Digital and physical office campaigns. That's something that I'm available to do, is come into the workplace and help run campaigns. I'm a real big one with awareness days. I think awareness days are great. A lot of awareness days have the resources that you can print out. And again, that's something I can support you with. Connect with services. Bring people into your workplace to offer perhaps a pop-up, a drop-in, or do talks. Mind identified that one of the most common reasons for putting off seeking help, described by men, is that they don't know where to start. And workplaces is a great opportunity to start that. Posters in the toilets as an example. So it creates a fantastic relief when you finally realise there are people to listen and understand how you feel. And that, being a counsellor myself, the amount of people I've heard say, I feel so much better now I've shared that. So it is really important that we give people the opportunity to talk without fear of judgment and stigma. So how can they help support their own mental health? Because everybody has that part to play for themselves. We've got the 5 ways to wellbeing. That's another workshop that we have delivered for you, which is connect, get active, take notice, learn, and give. And 5 ways to wellbeing is on many different websites as well. So I will encourage you to look at the 5 ways to wellbeing, but also to advocate that to others that may be struggling. And I do really strongly believe that the 5 ways to wellbeing has a place to help lift mood and change how we feel about situations. Reach out to support and reimagine and redefine masculinity. And that's something that's happening in society at the moment, isn't it? because absolutely nobody should have to man up. And that is a message that we need to get across. It's definitely changing, as it says here. In 2019, 43% of men admitted to regularly feeling worried or low, which is an increase of 6% previous 10 years. This may represent a shift in attitudes to talking about mental health rather than an increase. In 2019, 35% of men said they would be likely to speak to their GP if they were feeling low, and that's an increase of 12%. And in 2019, 17% of men said they were more likely to speak to a counsellor, and that's an increase of 8%. And we're talking 2019 there. It is hard to get recent statistics, but I dare say that that would have been an increase after COVID as well. I do believe that a lot of people changed how they spoke about mental health and how they were feeling after COVID, because it impacted so many of us in so many different ways. So finally, just to summarise, men experience mental health difficulties can often face internal and external barriers. So that internal worry of stigma themselves, but the external barriers, there is perhaps little places that they feel they can go to. Workplaces have a fantastic opportunity to smash the stigma and provide empathic, supportive responses. Don't underestimate the workplace. And we don't need to be experts in men's mental health. We need to build a culture where every colleague feels safe to start a conversation. And we would just want to encourage you that please don't be afraid to reach out to anybody you're worried about. I'll just leave them up, some useful numbers. Samaritans. Samaritans is very, very popular with males. And then we've got the campaign against living miserably. And Shout is a text service as well. So I'll just leave them up a second. Some recommended reading here for you. Man Down, a guide for men on mental health. This book could help. The Mind Manual, Sort Your Head Out, and the Chimp Paradox. And thank you. If you've got any questions at all, please do get in touch. It's Kate at thelearning-well.co.uk if you have any questions on what's been spoken about in today's workshop. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that goes some way for helping you and for helping you to help others.